Before we get into today's Dallas Cowboys report, I want to thank everybody who got us to the 96,000 subscriber mark. Thank you all so much. We're getting closer and closer to 100,000 subscribers. So if you want Cowboys videos every day, you want a watch party for the preseason Hall of Fame game, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. Could the Dallas Cowboys use Tony Pollard more and Zeke Elliott a little bit less this season? A almost yearly rumor at this point. I'm going to give this one 3 stars. Now, to be fair, a lot of it depends on how we define more and less, given that the NFL has added an extra game this season. But I think in terms of usage rates, there's a good chance that this does end up being the case. I'm inclined to give this one 3 stars, and the source of the origin here is really head coach Mike McCarthy. Here's what McCarthy had to say. Quote, "We've got Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle, who has looked good. We've got some younger guys who can play and produce, so it's not necessary for Zeke to run the ball 25 to 30 times a game. When you get to December, January football, you want him to be in top form and to be able to run the ball 25 to 30 times if needed." Now, I do think there's some good thought process involved here. Hey, you can use Tony Pollard, and it's not a bad idea to keep Zeke's usage down. This Cowboys team is still going to be a pass-first football team. And to be fair, 25 to 30 touches a game is not what most backs reach anyway. Zeke Elliott hasn't been a 25 to 30 carry guy in his NFL career. Now, if you factor in touches overall, if you include some receiving stuff, okay, you get there. But based solely on carries, here's his career numbers. His peak was in 2017 when he got 24 carries per game. That's not been what Elliott has been utilized in outside of like Derrick Henry. There really aren't backs who get utilized quite that much. Now, if you think even lower than Zeke's 16 last year, that's probably not going to happen. I think you'll see more Zeke Elliott relative to last year volume-wise because in theory the Cowboys will be a better football team and they'll be able to run the ball a little bit more frequently than what Elliott was able to do in a limited season due to the injuries on the offensive line and just the overall bad quarterback play that this team dealt with. But he's still got 52 catches. So I'm not saying that Zeke's suddenly not going to be involved in the offense. What I do think the Cowboys' plan ideally is, and I think should be, is that the Cowboys will find a way to not overload Zeke. They still want him to be the closer. They still want him to be the lead back. Make no mistake about it. They'll probably approach around 300 touches in total this season, but maybe it comes in just a little bit under that like it did this past year. I am open to the idea of using at minimum at least Tony Pollard more. I'll go more in depth on that here in a second. But what do you think? Do you want the Cowboys to use Tony Pollard maybe just a little bit more and Zeke Elliott a little bit yet less? Get your votes in for me. Type in Y for yes or N for no. And the big reason why I gave this 3 stars as opposed to 2 is that I do think we will see at least more Tony Pollard this year. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Zeke and Pollard get more reps on the field. Something we've wanted the Cowboys to do in recent years, but last year wasn't really the game plan. Here's again what McCarthy had to say on this idea. Quote, "Your 2-back schemes the last couple years have increased. You'll see it in the next couple practices. We're going to see it on defense more than we have. Dan, i.e. Dan Quinn, needs to see the 2-back stuff. We need to do a little more of it." McCarthy continued, "We need to line up and run the ball when we want to run the ball, no matter what the defense is in, too. We need to have some more of that. We don't want to be where we're checking it all the time and just playing exclusively a 1-back offense." I think that the 2-back offense, 20 personnel, 21 personnel, whatever, is very intriguing. It's a very appealing offensive design for the Cowboys. I think Kellen Moore is creative enough to get all 3 players in terms of the Zeke Pollard rotation with Dak Prescott involved in some read option, jet sweep, triple option stuff. I think that's very intriguing. Maybe some shovel option stuff as well. Now, Pollard was more efficient last year than Zeke Elliott. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Not elite, but it was 0.3 more than Zeke, and that's still a pretty decent amount. He was also heavily involved more in the passing game, 28 receptions on 40 targets. I do want to see a little bit more of Tony Pollard. I don't mind the idea of keeping it as a lighter workload for Zeke at certain points and allowing Pollard to still be more involved. I think if you reduce Zeke's touches, it'll make him a little bit more efficient and help keep him still impactful and healthy long term, which is kind of a big deal given how much the Cowboys ended up paying him. As weird as it might sound, for Zeke in particular, I think most backs, if you want the long-term contracts to work out because you paid them so much money, you actually probably want to reduce their touches just a little bit. So I will set this over-under for Tony Pollard. 130.5, that would be a career high for Mr. Tony Pollard. So over or under that number of touches for Pollard this season. Get your votes in. O for over or U for under. Speaking of overs and unders, if you want to place some bets on the NFL and on the Cowboys, do with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. That link is right there at the bottom of your screen. And use promo code Cowboys125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You can bet on pretty much anything on BetUS, including the Hall of Fame game. The Steelers are now heavier favorites, -1.5. So feeling good about the Cowboys, which, to be honest, I'm kind of not. But if you are, you can get some good value there. Chatsports.com/bet. Don't forget that promo code right there, bottom of your screen. It's Cowboys125. Let's talk defense now. Could Kelvin Joseph be a starter for this team? I'm going to bump this up to 2 stars. It was 1. It's gone up in light of the report from the Dallas Morning News, Michael Gelkin, who says the Cowboys, they think Joseph's further along than they thought he was going to be. Now remember, Joseph had missed parts of OTAs and minicamp. We mentioned that a lot because it was an important thing to mention. By no means did I ever say it was the end of the world, but it was important to make note of. Apparently, though, Joseph has made up some ground there, if you will. He's not behind right now. Now, in terms of the depth chart, yes, he is behind Anthony Brown still, but in terms of where he's supposed to be, that is not the case. And that's a big deal for the Cowboys and for Joseph because he needs time. He needs reps. He's a very young player who hasn't been out there all that much in his college career. Now, he is still behind Anthony Brown. I'm going to list him ahead of Nahshon Wright. We will come back to this and why I think it could be a really good thing and might even impact the roster itself if Joseph wins that job. But I do want to remind everybody, it is still early. This will be my theme for the next couple of weeks here. It is early, especially for a guy like Joseph. We are here now at the beginning of August, and Joseph has played a grand total of 15 college games. That's it. 9 games at Kentucky last year. We saw the promise. We saw the flashes. The upside, the ability is there. Life as a corner in the NFL is normally pretty tricky. Even Trevon Diggs was very much an up-and-down player last season. If you can get a similar impact from Joseph in year 1, the Cowboys are going to be ecstatic. I would not be surprised, however, if the Cowboys still keep Anthony Brown on the 53-man roster. He provides a lot of what I'm going to call veteran insurance. He can start on the outside or on the inside as well. But make no mistake, the ideal outcome for the Dallas Cowboys is that Kelvin Joseph is your starter. He was the 2nd-round pick. The team invested in him. Long term, they want Joseph and Diggs to be the guy. And if Joseph does earn a starting spot, it opens up the door for some intriguing potential roster moves. If Joseph impresses and he can be cornerback 2, and Wright can be CB3, and maybe Reggie Robinson can carve out that outside corner 4 role, and Maurice Cannon, who's been very impressive so far in camp, if he can lock down a spot, well, guess what? You could trade Anthony Brown. You could save a couple $1 million and then get a draft pick back for an older player who you can lean on if you have to, but you want the young guys to earn that role. So keep an eye on that as we go forward through camp and the preseason and everything. So pick a cornerback 2. Who do you think it will be? Not who you want. We pretty much all want one of these 2 bottom guys. Who do you think it will be? Type B for Brown, J for Joseph, or W for Nahshon Wright. Let's hit Tyron Smith here. I saw a lot of questions on our last live show on Thursday. Wanted to devote a little bit more time on it here. I am not concerned. I'm giving this just a 1 star. I am not really worried about Tyron Smith. Yes, he's been held out of the team stuff of practices lately with elbow tendonitis. He did do some individual drills, but the team stuff he's not been a part of. It's 1 star. I'm not that concerned. And yes, I get it. It's injury, Tyron Smith. If that's at some level in the back of your mind, I get it. That's why I give it the 1 star. But beyond that, this isn't the back. It's not the neck. If Tyron were missing time in practice due to a back or neck issue, I'd be concerned. That would be a big-time red flag for me. Now, if you don't trust the Cowboys and your injury stuff in general, I also get that. They're not a very honest organization when it comes to that side of things. But even though Tyron consistently has missed games over the past 5 years, 3 games each year from 2016 to 2019, and then just only played in 2 games last year in 2020, even though all that injury stuff is a concern, and I get it, I think specifically for the elbow, I'm just not that concerned about it. I mean, after all, he's always worn the giant, basically, knee brace on his elbow. I mean, this is a photo from 2019. There it is, right? Like, it's not a big concern for me. When Tyron Smith is out there, and when he's not getting flagged for BS penalties because it looks bad, even though it's actually a clean play because he's so much bigger and stronger than most dudes, he's been good. He's been a key part of your offensive line. If Tyron misses time, I'm still going to be concerned. That's kind of just the general reality of life in the NFL. Look around the rest of the NFL, and there's just not very good backup offensive line play. Terrence Steele's drawing some positive praise. You know, Brandon Knight could maybe kick in at guard or tackle. Knight really struggled after his own injury last year. What gives me the most concern is that, well, based on some media reports from Cowboys camp, is that Tyron Smith, the veteran they brought in to be the swing tackle, hasn't looked great. Bit of a red flag there. We'll have to monitor that more in depth. In the end, I'm not going to panic until we get to the preseason. Once we can watch these players play against other teams, I think we'll have a better feel for how concerned or not concerned we should be about a particular player. It is, after all, still very early.